concept of a library, and how should a hadith disciple build his library, his dojo?
Question says the concept of a library. Hadith disciple building his library and his dojo. First and foremost is, alhamdulillah, with regards to a library, the library of the student of knowledge is a very, very, very long path. The first step in this long path is to realize the importance of the library and the necessity of the library and the benefits of the library and the harms of not having a library. That's the first step. Realizing that there are many ways of obtaining knowledge. From those ways of obtaining knowledge is a book. Not the only way, but from those ways. Some of the most substantial ways of obtaining ilm is what? Is through books. Alright? Secondly is the concept of books reminding you from every time and then, sleep in your library. Sometimes it's good to sleep in your library. Not in your bedroom, but what? In your library. Or sleep with books in the bed. May sound a little crazy, but try it out. Have your books, when you wake up, you read. You go to sleep, you read. The book light. Just have books around your bed. I'm serious. This is a reality. This is not a joke. This is a reality. The concept of you always being reminded. You're always feeling intimidated. All of these books, how many of them have I read? How many of them have I read and memorized? How many of them have I read, memorized, and understood? How many of them have I read, memorized, understood, and mastered? How many of those books have I read, memorized, understood, mastered, and taught to someone else? How many of those books have I read, memorized, understood, mastered, and taught more than once? So you always have these books around you. The library, it gives you that constant hunger and that passion. Ilm, ilm, ilm. I'm inferior to this library. And you may have studied 20 books and read 20 books and memorized them and a lot of ilm, but it's still what? 20 more and 20 more and 20 more and 20 more. So you constantly looking at yourself as never accomplishing anything. And you're constantly looking at this library as a mountain ahead of you. And you've already walked for 1,000 kilometers, but it's what? Everybody understand this? This is a very important concept. You can't do that if you don't have no books. You may become pleased. You may become complacent. You may think that you know something. All of these books behind me. This one book right here. Let's look at this one book here. Let's look at this book. This book is 1,200 pages. 1,200 pages. I see it every day. I pick it up. I look at it. It's going to have an effect on my mind. I got to read. I got to study. I got to work harder, and what? Even harder. So it's one of the most important benefits of a library. Before you even talk about reading it, is the psyche. Getting in gear. Everybody understand this? Getting what? Getting in gear. Everybody, this is a very important concept. Secondly is having access to information. And you sitting with your friend, debating with them, having a friendly argument. All right, let's go back. Keda, no, la, fulan. That's a benefit. Let alone the fact that you have the ability to write a book. You have the ability to translate. You have the ability to give faida from it on all times. Everybody understand this? Let alone your family. Only Allah knows how your son's going to grow up, how your daughter's going to grow up when they see my Abby had a great library in the house. My humble knowledge, the little bit that Allah has blessed me with, alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for that. I know for sure when I grew up, from the things that had an effect on me was that I had books in my house. That my mother had books and my father had books. I don't think, and Allah knows best, my mother and father had imagined or envisioned anything that's happening today. But the books were what? They were there. So the books are a very important concept. And there isn't any nation that's successful, that's powerful, that's dynamic and thriving, except that it has a great deal of what? Libraries. A great deal of what? Great deal of libraries. Knowledge is power. Ilm. There's no doubt about that. So that's first and foremost. Secondly is, when you read a book, inshallah ta'ala, many faida you get from reading the book. First is, your mind can travel. It can take you away from sadness, depression. It can take you away from being caught up in nonsense and foolishness that the people are caught up today on the social media. How many people on Facebook and these sites that talk? How many of them are real avid book readers? What do you think, Sheikh Mahdi? The people that talk, quack, fulan, Mufti, Hizbi. How many do you, honestly, I know what you know, but what you think in your gut are avid book readers, Sheikh? Bookworms.
Very few.
Very few, if any of them. Everybody understand this? So reading books can be a means of what? Taking you away from problems and taking you away from snares and pitfalls, getting caught up. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. How to build a library, I would say, is there's several ways of doing it. The first way of doing it is looking at the main sciences and then taking the most important book from each science. So an example of this is tafsir. There are many books on tafsir, past and present. From the most important books, if not the most important book, or the main mothership book, is the tafsir of Ibn Jarir. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. So, whether you can read it or understand it or not, buy that book and put it in your library. That's one stone, one corner. Everybody understand this? Then we have mathalan hadith. There are many books of hadith, of past and of present. Different types of hadith. A very important book of hadith, if not one of the most important books, is Sahih Bukhari. Fath al-Bari. Put that in your library. That's another cornerstone. Everybody understand this? Then number 3, fiqh, mathalan. Aqidah, mathalan. Usul, mathalan. And you buy the ummahat, the mother books of each science to start off with. Once you have all of the sciences down packed, just the mother books, not the other small books, then another way of doing it is to take the next level. The most important book after Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, one could say Qurtubi. The most important book to have of hadith after Fath al-Bari is Sharh Sahih Muslim. وهكذا. Until you start stacking up the levels of the bricks until you have an actual wall. Another way of doing it is to focus on one field. It's to take the 5 most important books of tafsir and buy them. The 5 most important books of hadith and and buy them. وهكذا. Everybody understand this? Another way of building up your library, a third methodology, is to only buy the books that interest you. The books that you like to read, the books that you like to go back to and reference to. And then when you got to do a big project, or a lot of research, or something, you go to a public library, online, whatever the case may be. But everybody understand, my what? Library. These books, just for example, are the books that I like to read and I know about them well. Everybody understand this? You ever see a documentary or a lecture, and there's a professor, and he's doing an interview or a lecture in front of what? Books. Pay close attention. Sometimes you see the professor, he's doing the interview in front of books that are encyclopedias. You see big, thick, broad volumes, right? And then the other people, you see them doing an interview in their homes, and there's a bunch of small paperback books, because those are the books that what? His personal collection of books on psychology, or on medieval history, or on culinary arts. Everybody understand this? Obviously, the most effective way is to do what? It's to blend. Work on your library for a year, just with the mother books, the foundations. Then the next year, you work on what? The second layer. Then the third year, you work on what? Your goodies, your treats, your snacks. The paperback books that you like to read, that you went through, and you can point out, and you have the markers and the tabs and the bookmarks. And everybody understand this? Obviously, most importantly, is that you should build your library under the guidance of someone. Your teacher, your mentor. Okay? Whether it's questions that you ask us, or somebody in the UK, someone that has studied and that knows what they're talking about, and can show you, don't buy this print, but get that print. Don't get this book yet, get that book yet. Alright, the last piece of advice, because we need to do a lecture on this, hopefully inshallah we will, a workshop inshallah, or a series of videos. The last piece is what? Is just because you buy books and you stack your library doesn't mean you have to have read all of them. Don't allow someone to discourage you. Why are you buying all those books? You're not going to read them. You don't even speak Arabic. No. As we said, books will have an effect on you, even if you don't know what's in them. And it will, sometimes you have to grow into things. You have to what? Grow into things. Allah surely knows best. This is brief advice. Hopefully, Bidai Ta'ala will be able to do a series on these things with more detail. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. The list, book list, the prints. Bidai Ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan for your time and attention. Allah surely knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.